Hello, and welcome to Fridays with Friends. My name is Jeff Hittleman with Coast to Coast Legal Aid. To continue our celebration of Fair Housing Month, today we have Rhonda Wiltshire, Equal Opportunity Officer with Broward County's Professional Standards Human Rights section. We're going to talk about what the Human Rights section does, common fair housing issues they're seeing, and how to file a fair housing complaint here in Broward County. Rhonda, thank you for being with us this afternoon.
Oh, you're welcome, Jeff. It's my pleasure.
Tell us about the Human Rights section.
So the Broward County Human Rights section, our mission is to protect individuals from discrimination by investigating complaints of discrimination. And we do so under the Broward County Human Rights Act, as well as Title VIII of the Civil Rights Act, better known as the Fair Housing Act. What we do, the bases that we investigate start with race, color, religion, national origin, disability, familial status, and sex. And actually, under the Broward County Human Rights Act, it's a lot more expansive than the Fair Housing Act. So we also investigate complaints based on marital status, political affiliation, lawful source of income, stalking, human trafficking, domestic violence, gender identity or expression, sexual orientation, and I might have missed a couple, veteran status.
I think you got them all. Thank you. Since April is Fair Housing Month, what types of fair housing issues does your office commonly see?
Well, the most common issue that we see deals with emotional support animals or service animals, commonly known as assistance animals. That's the most common complaints that we see in our office. And it's actually followed by complaints based on race. And the third most common complaints are complaints based on familial status. And that involves children under the age of 18.
You mentioned emotional support animals being one of the #1 fair housing issues that your office sees. What are the recent trends in what specific issues with emotional support animals?
The specific issues that we're seeing, actually now we're to the point where housing providers are actually granting the accommodations, but they are putting some stipulations that are against the law when they do grant those accommodations. For example, they're requiring that individuals with emotional support animals walk the animals off the property. They're also requiring that they not walk the animals through the common areas. And they're asking for updated documentation on what we think is troubling on a more frequent basis than necessary.
Now, in addition to emotional support animals, you mentioned race-based discrimination in housing. What are some common examples that your office sees about that?
The most common example would be failure to rent or failure to approve an application for purchase based on race. And also we get complaints based on some sort of differential treatment and application of the rules. For example, based on race, complainants allege that respondents are treating them more severely or maybe a violation based on their race.
Now, in regards to the pandemic, have you seen any fair housing issues specifically related to the pandemic?
Surprisingly, not so many. We have one complaint where the complainant alleges that the respondent he was approved for CARES Act funding and the respondent refused to accept the CARES Act funding. So we've accepted a complaint based on his national origin, as well as based on the lawful source of income protection offered under the Broward County Act.
If someone feels they've been discriminated against, how do they make a fair housing complaint to the Human Rights section?
So there are a couple of ways. Of course, you can call our office. You can also contact us via our website, and you can also contact HUD. If you contact HUD, because the property is located in Broward County, HUD refers the complaint to us for investigation. Well, in this case, it would be for further processing to determine if we accept the complaint. But yes, you can go through HUD, you can come to our website, or you can call our office.
We're going to put a link in the chat to your website and also to the housing complaint form.
Right.
Tell us, what kind of information should someone be ready to provide to make a fair housing complaint?
Well, we need so we have to start with the basics. We need your name, contact information, and we also ask that individuals provide a contact person, just in the event that for whatever reason we can't get in contact with you, we'll contact that individual. We also need specifics relating to the issue that's alleged. So what happened? When did it happen? Where did it happen? So we ask for a brief statement telling us what happened. And once we get, that's the basic information that we start with. And once we get that information, we can actually speak to you and get whatever additional information is necessary for us to move forward to assist you.
Could you walk us through what happens after they file a complaint?
So after we've accepted your complaint, it would mean that you've signed a complaint, we've drafted a complaint, you've signed the complaint, meaning you agree with the particulars that are laid out on the form. Once we get your complaint, we send a notice to the parties. Obviously, the individual knows that they filed a complaint. We still provide them with a copy of the complaint. We also send a notice to the respondent, notifying them of the complaint. They get a copy of the signed complaint. Once they get a copy of that signed complaint, we explain to them that we need them to respond to the allegations. Once we get their response to the allegations, we invite the complainant, well, pre-COVID, into the office to
Sure.
to review the respondent's response. Now, most of the time that's done via telephone or by email. There's some legal issues with actually sharing the response, but we review it over the phone with the individuals. We review the response and we ask the complainant to provide us with a rebuttal. So once we get the rebuttal, we've started the investigative process. During the course of the investigation, depending on the issues that are alleged, we interview witnesses, we review records. It could be leasing records of the respondent. It could be application, whatever is necessary for the particular issue. We go on site depending on the issue alleged. It could be, for example, a refusal to grant a reasonable accommodation in the form of a closer parking spot. It would be necessary in that case for us to go on site. We interview the respondents. At the conclusion of the interview, once we've gathered the information necessary to make a determination, we make a recommendation based on the totality of the evidence in the file.
Last, but certainly not least, tell us about the new anti-discrimination rule recently passed by the Broward County Commission.
Well, the Broward County Commission actually recently added, race has always been a protected category, but they've expanded the definition of race to include traits that are historically associated with race. So this includes, but it's not limited to your hair texture, your hair type, and protective styles such as braids, locks, and twists.
Rhonda, thank you for sharing with us about the human rights section and how your office protects fair housing rights here in Broward.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you. And thank you for watching. Tune in Fridays at noon for more. Thank you.